Hey everyone, it's Nicole here today for Spellbinders with some backgrounds made completely out of die cuts, plus the sentiment is die cut and matted, and there's just a little stamped phrase underneath it because these are part of the coordinating dies and stamps from Spellbinders. Everything you see here is part of the Spellbinders Indie Collection. This Indie Collection just means that it's available at independent retailers rather than at the Spellbinders site itself. So places like Simon Says Stamp and other independent retailers, there's a whole list on my blog that I will link to in the supplies underneath here so that you know where you can find these awesome dies. So I did die cut everything off camera. I'm just kind of giving you a little overview of what I'm using here to save time, simply because these did take a little bit to put together. I'm going to tell you guys though, even with all of this die cutting, and it's a lot, and a lot of the pieces can be embossed. If you run them back through your Spellbinders machine with the embossing mats, even with that, both of my cards were put together in less than 2 hours, even with all the die cutting, because I know it's a crazy amount of die cutting, but it really, if you would die cut everything and then maybe, put on your favorite show or a movie, you could sit and assemble these. It's really so easy. And I think it would be really easy to create multiples if you just die cut a bunch of them and then just went to town putting them together. Because if you keep in mind that a lot of the pieces that hang over the edge on these could be used to fill in little pieces and little corners, which I'll show you in a little bit. So I'm simply kind of assembling some stuff. I had previously die cut and kind of inked these particular pieces. I had been going for a completely different look and ended up thinking, wouldn't an all-over background created with all these cute little fruits really be fun? This particular set, everything but the pineapple, is from the fruit salad die collection. That's the watermelon, that's the strawberry, it's the oranges, limes, lemons. I love that that particular kind of orange, anything that's citrus basically, is created with the same die. I originally did the orange and I thought, oh, it'd be kind of fun to do lemons and limes too. And I'm glad I did, because I think that adds just a little bit more color here and there. But all of these are from fruit salad. The pineapple is from Tropical Pineapple, and Tropical Pineapple has the great pineapple shape, the leaf or greenery at the top, and then it's got a flower that you could add to that as well. I didn't use the flower. So I used every single die from fruit salad. I used 2 of the dies from Tropical Pineapple. And then we're going to round it all out with the greeting I'm going to use today is the Hello Expressions. Now, I am really excited about these because I love the font. I love the font of the scripty greeting, and I love the kind of typewriter-y type font of the stamped greeting, and I love that they come packaged together. I'm also going to be linking at the end of this video to another set of cards I created with Spellbinders dies, and on those I used the thanks expressions, which is from the same indie collection. So there are a whole bunch of different greetings you can use. There's also a ton of amazing dies in this indie collection. Please kind of check out my channel, subscribe to my channel. You're going to see some in the near future. There is an awesome layered bunny. There's some foliage that is beautiful, some amazing leaves and things, a palm tree, and the cutest little narwhal. I mean, he is just adorable. I'm trying to think what else that I have planned out. Lots of things. It's kind of escaping me right at the moment, but just a fantastic, fantastic collection from Spellbinders. I grabbed my little group of stuff here. Oh, I know. There's the Enjoy expressions, which that's another greeting set. There's a layered rose. There's a layered oak tree. Oh, the butterflies. Oh my gosh, I forgot the butterflies. I don't know how I could forget those. They are stunning. There's the layered monarch and then the layered butterfly, and really, really beautiful, plus loads of other greetings and stamp combinations, which are really, really fun. I am using mostly liquid adhesive, also my tape runner for some of the bigger pieces like the watermelon or the pineapple to attach things, but mostly Ranger Multi-Matte Medium. This makes it easy. I'm using the Spellbinders Tool-in-One. Those little sections for the citrus fruit are a little tricky. You could use it, maybe a jewel picker or something to attach those. You'll also notice that I use some Distress Oxide ink to ink up my images a little bit to give them a little bit more depth and dimension. Not everything. The smaller ones, I really kind of just stayed away from the inking because it will turn into inking the whole thing and my fingers. So I kept it to the pineapple, to parts of the watermelon. The greenery on the strawberry leaves, I think a little tip are getting the tips greener with Lucky Clover is kind of cute. But other than that, that's just kind of really the only place I added that additional. The pineapple's a really good one because it's got that fantastic texture. And I started with a little wild honey, added in a little spiced marmalade. You can kind of do whatever you want here. That just gave me a little bit more texture and interest. The watermelon, it does emboss the seeds on the watermelon itself. So I simply took a black glaze pen and went over the watermelon areas with that black glaze pen, which really draws your eye into that watermelon. The strawberry is fantastic here because it's really easy to kind of tuck it into some of the smaller spaces on the card, and I want to really make sure I fill every little nook and cranny. So I've got this little watermelon, even though it's only going to be a tiny little piece that I'm going to be adding here. I'm going to go ahead and assemble it because this one is one of those images that I was talking about where you might adhere it hanging off the side. It's going to hang off the right side of the card. When you trim that off, take the rest of the image, that excess part, because there's going to be a ton on this one, and tuck it onto an edge somewhere else. So we're going to actually be using that in the lower right corner. And it's not going to be a ton, but just enough to reuse some of these little pieces here and there. And if you were making more than one card, you could definitely kind of tuck it into another card image as well. So here's my lime. I have one orange, one lemon, and one lime. For whatever reason, this one was kind of the most time-intensive one to assemble, probably because it has the 6 little slices inside and then the circle, so it's the most time-consuming, I guess, to assemble, really. But I do think it's really cute. There's just 3 of those on the card. I didn't worry too much about perfection, just kind of got them laid down. I'm using acrylic blocks to hold everything nice and flat so that it dries really well. Little green tips on the strawberry. Like I mentioned earlier, there's awesome texture on the strawberry. Hopefully you can see that maybe in the finished photo a little bit better. The Hello Expressions die cut greeting was die cut from gold foil cardstock from Tonic Studios. I'm just going to put a nice little thin layer of glue, liquid glue adhesive on the back of this and then pop it right on to the vellum. One thing about vellum is it likes to curl up, so I almost always put an acrylic block on top of it to hold it nice and flat while it dries. While that's drying, I'm going to grab my long-edged scissors and trim up my card. Everything should be pretty dry, so I should have really good luck getting everything trimmed off. This is going to clean up all of the edges. Doing this makes the background feel more like it was trimmed out of a bigger piece, like you were trimming a piece of pattern paper down to fit the front of your card. That's the look I'm going for. Now, really, I could leave it as is. I did fill in a little area with more orange, you can see there. And I'm going to fill in this bottom corner then with my rest of my watermelon. And if you need to tack anything down at this point with a little more liquid glue, this is a good time to do it. Anything you've trimmed off, on the chance that maybe the adhesive was more on the part that was hanging off the side of the card, which can sometimes happen, I like to just maybe put a little dab of glue underneath there and pop it down. This has probably sat long enough, so I'm hiding the adhesive, which I know I did it too close to me. I'm so sorry, but it's hidden behind the gold foil on that vellum layer. But because the background is so textured, again, going to use my handy dandy acrylic blocks to hold that down in place. If you have a Xyron that is big enough to feed this through, I only have this sticker maker and I think this was too tall. I would totally put the whole thing through my Xyron sticker maker to attach that, because it's going to put a nice layer of glue all over the back. I stamped the word sunshine from the Hello Expressions stamp set on smooth white cardstock with black ink, trimmed it into a thin strip, and then popped it up with a foam adhesive strip right underneath. And then I'm going to put the whole panel on the front of a top fold card base, and that is going to finish up the fruit salad and tropical pineapple die cut background card. I love that the hello will work with anything. So let's do another example. I thought it would be fun to have a couple of different examples. This one is going to be for the coffee and donut lovers out there. I love this little coffee cup and the donut dies. So stinking fun. This one is just, so much like the last card, same kind of thing. I die cut a bunch of the images from the awesome Coffee Time die collection. It's got the coffee cup, the coffee lid, the heart that you emboss, and then there's like an embossed heart in the center. Then it's got the coffee cozy, which has that fantastic texture to it, which is great to go around your coffee cup. The donut shape, and then the frosting with the sprinkles, which also has some great embossing. To highlight that great embossing on anything that's got the embossed area on it, I am adding some Distress ink or Distress Oxide ink. I'm even adding a little bit to the coffee cup, even though there is no embossing on this. I thought it just added a little bit. It's the largest die cut on my card, and I felt like if I was going to have ink on some of the other areas, that the coffee cup needed it too. So I went ahead and did a little peacock feathers for the coffee cups, ground espresso for the coffee cozies, and the quote-unquote chocolate donuts. The chocolate donuts, I really did keep with a theme here too. I decided if I was doing a chocolate donut, it would have pink frosting, and I inked up the pink frosting with picked raspberry distress ink. If it was more of just a traditional donut with chocolate frosting, the donut was die cut from vanilla malt Lawn Fawn cardstock, and then I used the chocolate bar cardstock to make the frosting, and I inked that with ground espresso. I decided, instead of kind of going random with all of my colors, I kind of really kept to a theme. So 2 different donut colors so that there would be pops of pink throughout. Excuse me. The hearts are going to provide that nice pop of red, which I think adds a lot of balance to the design. And then the coffee cup is that really pretty aqua. One of my very favorite color combinations is aqua red and pink for lots of things. I love it for Christmas cards. I love it for Valentine's cards. I love it for everyday cards like this one here. So when I was trying to contemplate what colors I wanted to use, that's kind of what I went for. Now, the lid of the coffee cup, that was fun. There is an amazing cardstock from Tonic Studios. This is the black velvet mirror cardstock. I am a huge fan of the Tonic Studios mirror cardstocks. In fact, the gold that I used, the silver that I'm using for the die cut word hello for my cards is from Tonic Studios. And then the top of the coffee cups is that awesome black velvet matte mirror cardstock. And I think it really kind of gives, it's just the perfect black. In real life, I don't know if it translates as great on camera, but in real life, I think it gives that perfect look of a to-go coffee cup. And that's what I was going for there. I really just kind of inked as I went. I had previously laid everything out and I didn't want to go back and try to figure out where to put every single die cut. And so I found it easier to just kind of start up at the top and move my way down just little by little. So I wouldn't have to like completely reinvent this card base since I had previously laid it out kind of to guesstimate how many images I needed for my card. It probably would have been a lot easier to just ink it all up before I did that and then put it together, but I didn't. So that is kind of my thought process here. Antique linen, I think, is just the perfect color for inking up these donuts and giving them a little bit of texture. I've done some other cards that have a donut base, and I used the vanilla malt cardstock with antique linen, and I just really, really love it. You could even ink up the hearts if you wanted to with something because it would be really cute because of that embossed heart in the middle. I did not for these. I just kept it pretty clean and simple, but you definitely could. And consider using those hearts with other images on other types of cards. You could take those hearts and make them, I think probably about 5 of them, maybe 6. I haven't tried it out, so I'm not exactly sure how many. If you put them together, you can make flower shapes with them, which I think would be really cute, maybe combined with the foliage, the layered foliage indie collection die set, which is a beautiful, beautiful foliage collection of dies. They go with so many things. And if I didn't mention earlier, is these layered bunnies that are just amazing. I can't wait to use those. Oh, and some tulips as well. I love the tulips. I think I love all of them. They're really fun, versatile dies. I'm really excited about this release. So I'm almost done, and just like my last card, when I get to the end and I have everything trimmed, or pardon me, adhered, and it's been there for a minute, I'm going to take my long scissors and I'm going to trim up the edges, clean that all up. You can use a few little extras here and there if you want to, that you've trimmed off to fill in on the edges. I think I used maybe a heart and I think and a donut to fill in just a couple of areas. There's one spot on the right that looks like it needs something, and then that bottom left corner. I've also glued the word hello, this time die cut from Silver Tonic Studios mirror cardstock on the vellum. I stamped my friend. There's lots of different phrases in these expressions stamp sets, which I love because it really allows you to mix and match and say what you want to say. You could also just use the hello and you would not have to add anything if you didn't want to. But all these little extra pieces, I like to hang on to them, especially if I'm going to make another card, because they are just going to fill in all of those little nooks and crannies. And I really like using long scissors to do this because I think it really gets a nice clean cut. So let's just grab up the heart. We're going to pop that in a spot over here. I think that gives a nice little bit of red over on the left. And then we're going to pick one of the donuts and just kind of off this edge. It's not a lot, but it fills in that little area beautifully. We're going to glue the hello down in that upper half of the card, just like we did for the fruit salad card. I'm going to pop the My Friend onto the card with foam adhesive. I'm using my acrylic blocks to hold everything nice and flat still. And I like to let the glue set for just a minute before I clean up the edges of my card. That way I make sure that it's nice and set. I've grabbed my top fold card base. I'm going to go ahead and get my adhesive down so I'm ready to go. Remove those acrylic blocks. Flip the panel over. I always find it easier to come from the back side and trim this all off. Glue this one in place, and that will finish up the coffee time die cut background greeting card. So here is a look at the 2 finished cards with die cut backgrounds. Thank you guys so much for joining me today for these 2 cards created with Spellbinders Indie Collection dies and stamps. The supplies I used are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Here are a couple more videos featuring Spellbinders that you might be interested in. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.